I don't know how
Good
long.
evening, SVSers. Welcome to another virtual audiophile happy hour. I am VP Nick Brown with SVS, here with our national training manager, the Larry Magoo. How are you doing, Larry?
I'm
The
great.
Larry.
And of course, President Gary Yakubian. And Gary, as is per the custom, I would love for you to kick us off and share a few words, kind of get the evening started.
Well, as always, I'm so happy. We look forward to this literally all week, and it's actually been 3 weeks since our last one, so really missed you guys. As always, we know this is not a happy time for everyone. It's tough. Many of us are, including me, are locked up at home, and I have 2 essential workers in my house with me, so I get none of the fun, but all of the risk because they're going in and out of the house. But I know people some people have lost jobs, some people have gotten sick, and others have even lost loved ones. We know you're out there, and this is just about us wanting to be connected with you, and why we look forward to this so much. So after 3 weeks, we missed you. So glad to be with everybody.
Yep. And before I discuss the format, for anyone who's new, hello to Montana, Maine, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. I saw all M states there, so good showing from around the country so far. And as I was saying, for anyone who may be tuning in for the very first time, at the virtual audiophile happy hour, we do 4 giveaways over the course of the night at random. We will call out your name and where your comment is from, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, and then one of our associates will follow up with you and get all your information. So stay tuned for that. Now, it's been a lot of time at home, so I know we've all been listening to some different things. I personally have taken a step back from some of the movies and done a little bit more music listening over the last several weeks, although my wife wanted me to mention that we've been watching Succession on HBO. It's sort of a media drama type thing, which is fun. But I've also been listening to some Sturgill Simpson, Killer Mike I listened to for the first time, as well as Amy Winehouse, who's one of my old favorites. I have her Blu-ray, which I streamed I showed that concert to my 16-year-old. So that's what I've been looking into. Larry, what about yourself?
Well, it's been a few weeks, and you guys know I don't sleep much, so I've been eating up Netflix and HBO Max quite a bit too. But I got through everything in Money Heist. So if you guys have seen that, it's pretty cheesy. Got into Westworld for the first time and did all 3 seasons of that pretty quickly. Showed my kids Back to the Future, which was really awesome because I thought they were all finally old enough to appreciate it. Now we're doing Goonies. And now just kind of getting into music again too, because as you guys can see behind us, you've been watching, I've changed up this room quite a bit. So I've been listening to quite a bit of music and busted out my 200 disc CD player.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Larry, because tonight this was Gary's idea. We've had some requests to show off our personal systems, and in lieu of having a special guest on for the evening, we've all decided to show off some of the SVS gear that's in our house. Now, I have to apologize in advance. I'm in transition, but I think these 2 guys have some fun stuff in store, so we'll jump into that a little bit later on. But Gary, we do need to hear what you've been tuning into as well.
So did we talk about the prizes? We're giving away 4 great prizes at random to random commenters. So keep those comments coming.
That's right.
Do you want to say what they are?
Absolutely.
Shamefully, I don't remember what they are.
No, that's okay. This is the order we will be giving them away. A pair of our most popular speakers, the Prime Elevation PB1000 subwoofer, our fantastic SVS Prime wireless speaker system, and rounding out the night will be our newest, most popular subwoofer, the SB2000 Pro. One lucky person will take home for free. So excited to give all that stuff away.
And it reminds me that we got some comments on the last show that we did. Is this a show? I'm not sure what this is, but the last show we did that I never smile. And I was getting a lot of crap about that on our Zoom call with our team today. And the general consensus was, this is me smiling, guys. This is about as good as it gets, but I'm going to try to do better. As far as what I've been watching, I'm running out of stuff, and I don't want to ask Larry for recommendations. I have been binging The Handmaid's Tale, which I think it's really dark, so it's hard to binge. Like, you could do 1 a day. And then the other thing I've been doing, Larry makes fun of me for getting DVDs from Netflix because he thinks I'm the last person on the planet that does that. But the cool thing is it allows me to get classic old movies, and that's been a little bit of what we've been doing. And I've been going through classic Alfred Hitchcock ones. So yesterday we saw Rear Window, which is really cool. And there are other ones that are great that we've done, North by Northwest. So that's been what I've been doing. As far as music, I'm driving my family crazy because we alternate a lot between Lana Del Rey and Billie Eilish. Nobody believes that I would like that, and Tool. So that's pretty jarring. And then
you had a cool T-shirt on yesterday, and people think you're all, you got the suit jacket on. But yesterday, you should have seen Gary during our Zoom call rocking his Tool T-shirt. That was exciting.
With a skeleton on the front of it.
Right,
and but I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, because tomorrow Bob Dylan's first album in 8 years dropped. First album of original material in 8 years dropped. So I'm excited about that. And Nick, I bought it on vinyl.
Ooh. Well, there's a teaser for what's to come. People are going to be interested to see your turntable choice, if there's any vinyl heads out there.
I love my turntable, so I'm looking forward to showing them. It's not all SVS gear we're going to be showing, right? We're going to show some, unless we do we make a 200 disc changer, Larry? I didn't know that.
That CD player's from 1997 when I was working at Best Buy here in Arlington, Texas. So it's been with me for a while.
All right.
Yeah. Well, the three of us in our history have been lucky enough to create offspring. And for this weekend, it's a big weekend for people who have created offspring. It's Father's Day. So we didn't want to leave that out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of fathers who are tuning in. So I am interested to know, Larry, you got the grill. You never stop grilling. There's got to be something involved with meat on your Father's Day. But what else you got in store?
Yeah, well, as you know, I shared a brisket purchase I made this morning. So we have a 19-pound brisket that's going on Saturday night, so it'll be ready for Sunday. We're going to be doing some movies as well. Like I said, we're going to finish up Goonies with the family, and probably just get quite loud with some music and movies over the weekend as well, because it's about doing nothing this weekend for me.
Yeah.
Have you been doing anything other than nothing in this middle of all this stuff?
So busy. A ton of cooking. I send Nick every weekend the stuff I cook, because I got him into a seasoning company that I really like, and we've been cooking quite a bit. So
why don't you drop a plug on him?
Oh, you want me to take? So if you're in Texas or anywhere else, you can check out. I've been using Meat Church seasonings.
There you go. Hey, you got your plug, Gary. What about yourself? How you treating yourself Sunday?
Well, my family's really generously giving me a lot of gifts. The reason I know is because the bills have been showing up on my credit card. So I'm really excited about whatever I bought for myself. I'd like to find out. My wife is in the corner laughing. And I also I have a new grill, so I'm kind of excited about that. So we'll be doing some grilling too. But I'm not like Larry. Larry's very old school. He does real smoking. Whereas I got a gas grill, but I'm still excited about that. So we'll definitely hang out at home and grill and be with family. My oldest son is home from school now, so it's special. All of us are here.
Very cool. Well, I am hopefully taking my dad out golfing, and we'll spend 18 holes embarrassing me, which is good for his self-esteem. And then we'll round it out and do a big sandwich bar. He likes those massive hoagie sandwiches where you just get all the fixings. So we're actually smoking a turkey breast, Larry, and we're going to be having that as part of our fixings for this weekend as we tackle the biggest sandwiches I can possibly make. But in keeping with the spirit, I wanted to do a top 10 Father's Day movies list. And there's a little bit of a precursor.
Who selected this list, Nick? I still don't understand the rigor that we've applied to developing this list.
Well, I compiled it based on my personal movie watching experience and consulting with Larry as well. And again, I forgot
to ask me what I thought.
Well, you're the music guy, so if I wanted to do top 10,
I would have picked bad ones.
We could have let you chime in there. But these, just for a caveat, these are not like your typical like Mrs. Doubtfire, Parenthood, Father of the Bride. Like these aren't the types of movies we went for. We went for sort of actiony, fun movies where dads play a prominent role. So this is an exclusive SVS virtual audiophile happy hour top 10 list here. So here we go. At number 10, just because I pretty much put this movie on every single list I ever make, Heat. De Niro, Pacino working together. Who doesn't want to watch that anyway? So get your dad out there. Best, gunfire scene I've ever seen. So Heat makes my number 10. Number 9, Logan. I think, Larry, what do you think about Logan there?
Oh, good. It's one of those great superhero flicks and almost a Western and throwback to old times too. It's really good.
Yeah, and great father-daughter, little dynamic there. Number 8, we have He Got Game, which is sort of more of a drama, but still a great watch to connect with. Die Hard, which has the opportunity to be in both a Father's Day and a Christmas sort of movie list there. But I know, Bruce Willis plays actually a role in a couple of these movies.
I have Nakatomi Tower right here, sir.
Oh, there you go. And then the next one's a horror movie, Sinister, which this is your contribution. Why Sinister?
Well, it's about a dad trying to protect his family when he really can't. And, Ethan Hawke really giving it all in that flick, too. So it's a dark one, not for everybody, though.
Okay. Next, we have Armageddon. Again, a story of a father trying to save humanity. I guess that's a good goal for any of us to have. Number 3, The Godfather. Again, it's on pretty much every list, but you can't go wrong with that one. Interstellar is another great choice if you're looking for an action movie with some awesome low frequency effects, I might add. And then me and Larry sort of got into it on this. What came in number 1? What came in number 2? My vote was for Taken. I think Liam Neeson, being the badass that he is, great father figure. He actually chose the one that we like to demo at some of our events, which is
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, man. That's one of the best father-son combo movies of all time.
Yep.
And it sounds fantastic still, even on Blu-ray, and it still has the THX trailer at the beginning, too, if you want to have that much fun in your room.
So there you go. I think Sean Connery, Harrison Ford dynamic, can't go wrong with that either. So sort of keeping in that spirit, that is our top 10 list. So debate amongst yourselves. We'd love to see comments, other suggestions that you guys have, whether they're more family friendly or action oriented. We'll take them all. But
Nick, also, I'm running out of shows to watch, so I'd like to see in the comments, recommend some cool shows. We most of us have Netflix, right? Or probably all of us. I got HBO Max too. It came free for some reason, maybe with my DirecTV.
So good.
And I think it's great. And then Hulu and Amazon Prime. I have all 4 of those. So if you have some ideas for really great shows, there you go. There's one.
Yeah,
That's a movie.
The new War of the Worlds remastered 4K just came out. For those of you guys who haven't seen that, that's another great one about a father trying to protect his family. So it sounds awesome too.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at all these come through.
Narcos
here.
Mexico, I agree. I loved that. That was my pandemic favorite so far.
The Simpsons. Oh, well, that's really aspirational there if you're going that. I think Ozarks was one that we talked about a little bit earlier, and we've all seen it. So, but great movie as well. I got one. There's one that I am excited about. Can I? There is this German show. It's really weird, and it is dark, and it's actually called Dark, and it's actually good. Very, very confusing to watch, but now they're dropping season 3, I think, in like 10 days. I've been hearing that's on Netflix. Okay. It's in German. You can watch it in English if you want, but it's kind of cool in German with the subtitles. I think it's really good. So I'm looking forward to season 3, and actually that's one our whole family likes. Larry, you were mentioning HBO Max before we jumped on here. Was there any new content there that people should maybe get excited for?
I will tell you, if you are a movie fan at all, I think HBO Max is the best streaming service of all of them that I have for just flat out movies. I've been going back there, and I think the name kind of throws people off, but it has Turner Classic Movies. So the stuff that Gary was talking about, watching some old classics, I finally made it through 2001: A Space Odyssey, along with a bunch of other stuff I've been watching. And I got caught up on some series and stuff that HBO had. So if you're into movies and just phenomenal TV, I think HBO Max is kind of the way to go. I haven't touched Netflix now in 2.5-3 weeks.
No, I'm liking it. Larry, I have to agree with you. I'm liking HBO Max. What I haven't done is watch it on my main home theater where I can really tell how good the sound is. So what have you seen? Does it streaming in full on? Is it?
Not yet.
There's your question. Is it 5.1? What do we got?
Yeah, there's some content that is surround capable and everything, but it's still 1080p and not doing Atmos yet. But I think that's probably not going to be too far off. And when it does, man, it's going to be the streaming service to have, I think.
So I just got. I don't know how I figured this out, but I just saw on my feed that when Netflix gets Seinfeld, they took the transfer from the original 35 millimeter prints, and now they made it 4K. So Seinfeld, starting next year on Netflix, will be in full-on 4K. So that's kind of cool.
Do you need to see Kramer's hair in 4K? Is that what you're excited about?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe. Well, yeah.
I thought that was cool.
No, it is cool. I just can't imagine how much closer it will get you to the Seinfeld action. But
right.
Hey, everything's going there. So good for them. So sort of keeping with this theme, we wanted to talk a little bit about And this has come up, from some press people that we talked to, but how do you engage younger people, not necessarily younger people, but also folks who may have never had a great audio experience? What do you do to really sort of engage those folks and get them interested into it and sort of just allow them to appreciate what great sound is all about? And I'll paint it sort of as younger people, because I think that's sort of the big question. Is like, what's the next generation of hi-fi and audio fans? So Gary, I know you've thought a lot about this. We talk a lot about it. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, for me, the secret was always to show them how to use all the systems in the house, invite them to enjoy them, and not just force them to watch my content with me, but to let them enjoy how great their content can be on a great system. And it's really paid off, because everyone in my family really enjoys a great immersive experience. It's just that they'll complain to me about my stuff. Like, I was actually hearing about it yesterday that some of my music was wearing on my kids, and which is supposed to be the other way around, right? But that's the bad news. But the good news is that everybody appreciates great sound, and they want to just enjoy their content on great sound. Then when we all gather together, we kind of negotiate what we're going to enjoy together. So to me, that's important. Nobody should feel like they're locked out of the home theater unless the main person that organized it is kind of making it happen. That's my insight. Make your family your partner in crime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my 9-year-old's downstairs playing Apex Legends and Fortnite on our 5.1 system downstairs, and we've got, I'm sure my wife, she's watching in the other room on our Ultra bookshelves. So we've brought everybody into it. And then the other thing, part of the draw to the company for me was it's all attainable gear too. And our performance story, we play in line with all those legacy brands that everybody's known forever, but we're bringing more people into this, and you can see that from the comments that we're seeing on YouTube and Facebook tonight. And it's cool that
they're coming in as fast as I've ever seen them. Do you agree? And a lot of great, thoughtful comments.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I do have to give a shout out. I see the name Keith Bender here. Keith was actually the winner of one of our first or second giveaways that we did. And we recently featured his system on our site, on the featured systems part of our site. He put a phenomenal system together, which the PB 2000, I believe, is it, that he won, really sort of set that in motion. So Keith, thank you for tuning in again. You didn't win anything, but appreciate you looking out and letting us feature your system. That was really cool. So myself personally, like, I have an experience with this. I have a 16-year-old, which I mentioned. And what I sort of did with him was just make it as fun as possible. And I was asking him what he was listening to on his headphones one day. It was this really bizarre, like, UK rapper named Oliver Tree, which, if anyone's seen him, he wears like this weird 80s windbreaker and has this ridiculous bowl cut. And, I was listening to it, and it's something in between rap and like emo. I don't even know what it was. So I was like, let's blast it on the system. And so we put it down there and we blasted it, and, it's not recorded super well, but he was like, wow, like, I didn't realize there was all this bass. I didn't realize. And he was like sort of discovering it while we were listening. And then I was like, well, why don't we listen to some music that might have a little bit more artistic value? And then you can kind of hear what you were just hearing, but in like a higher res kind of way. And that's really kind of what got his gears turning. And I believe I put on some Elton John, which is like the 4th or 5th time I've mentioned Elton John on these happy hours, but doesn't mean anything. So that was really it. It's like, make it fun for the person. Let them experience their content in a way that really kind of gets them excited. And then you can teach them from there, what is great audio? Why does it matter? Why is it, something that you should care about and invest in? And then I think also how disposable tech is today. When people understand a great pair of speakers or subwoofer is going to last you 5, 10, 15 years, like, that just doesn't exist in the world of tech today. So there's a real value there that I think you can impart to younger people, and then anyone who is living a sort of tech lifestyle but not appreciating great sound. So those are just some thoughts I had on it. Anything you guys want to add, feel free.
I think we should do the first giveaway.
I was going to just
because I'm nervous that with all three of us showing off our systems that we might run out of time.
So our first winner is from Facebook, and it is for a pair of SVS Prime Elevation speakers, the world's most versatile high-performance speaker.
And our most popular speaker.
and our most popular, and it's Richard Nix, Nix from Facebook. Somebody will be reaching out to you. Richard, congratulations. You have just won a pair of SVS Prime Elevation speakers. Really cool.
Congratulations.
Before we kick into the tours here, I did want to have one question that came up last week, and this will be a quick one to answer, but I thought it might be good for some people interested in the technical side of things. Eric M. asks, how much breathing room does a speaker with a rear port really need, and what is the benefits from pulling it out versus keeping it against the wall? Gary, you want to field this one?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one. A port looks, when you look at it, especially on a subwoofer, it looks like it's some kind of an exhaust. So it needs like your Corvette needs a lot of air to blow out of it, but it's really not true. A speaker moves a limited amount, and the port is there to allow the motion of the driver to be a little bit freer and allow you to hear both the forward motion and the rearward motion of the driver more than that it needs a ton of room. So literally, unless the speaker is just a particularly difficult one, as far as the port alone, I would say even an inch is plenty. But I would also say, if you're going to ask the question, speakers like air. So if there's an ability to get speakers away from boundaries in the room, and I realize everybody, you all have lives just like we do, and sometimes that's not practical, but if it is practical, getting speakers out into the room a little bit away from boundaries like walls, they will sound better.
Larry, anything you want to add on to that?
That's pretty good. Most of my stuff, due to, you just heard my dog bark, due to 5 dogs and 3 boys, I don't have space to take them off the wall. So mine are pretty close to the wall, and you'll see some of that whenever I walk around the room here behind me.
Let's do that. Let's show Larry's system.
So that's a nice segue you have there, Larry. Obviously, we can't get into all of the decor that you have in there, but if there are some hot spots you want to hit,
you can do a whole show with all the memorabilia.
I know,
Larry.
I collect a lot of stuff.
We let the people pick one thing, and you can tell the story behind it. But no, we want to hear about the gear first. So let's talk about the gear, and then you're going to switch over here to a different camera. And as we do that, we'll give us a tour. And let's start with that video game console. Is that NBA Jam I see?
That may be. Let me switch up my camera here real quick. Okay, I'm going to jump into the stream with my phone so you guys can see this. So
yeah, and this is the first time we're trying this, so bear with us here.
Technical marvel here, guys.
That's right. We value production very much here. And here we go. That was quick.
All right, well done.
All right. So I guess we'll start here because you asked about it. So I am a retro gaming fan. So this is my arcade cabinet that has, I don't know, 8,000 or 10,000 games on it. I can switch out and add kind of whatever I want. And a little bit of overkill for powering the sound on it, but I'm using a sound base with a pair of Prime bookshelves to give me the audio off of the arcade system here. So if we're playing some NBA Jam later, we could get in there and do all that.
And just a little teaser, that foam finger might be mentioned later in the broadcast.
Yeah,
I have a bad feeling we're not going to.
So I'll make my way over here. Everything went to sleep. I didn't realize it. My wife said I need to talk about what this is because a lot of people on the broadcast asked about this. I am a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. My favorite sports franchise of all time, along with my 49ers. And
is that
Dirk
Justin
is my
Bieber, Larry?
athlete of all time. And I got to go to Dirk's last game last season, and it was one of the highlights of my sports going career. So that's my little Dirk corner. But over here, I am running a 5.1.2 system off just kind of a mid-level Onkyo that I've had now for 2 years that I picked up, the 676, and I'm running a pair of Prime Towers, Prime Center up here, another Prime Tower, then my SB 2000 back over here, and then I get up here around the albums, and I've got a Prime Elevation here for surround. Then I swing back around here to kind of my my Star Wars corner. You see my Prime satellite back there for surround. More movie stuff. My other surround speaker.
So you have a full 5.1 and the 2-channel Prime bookshelf system.
Yeah, I got my Prime books over here for listening to music and the arcade, and then over here on my mess of a desk, where if you guys don't, so doing training, I've been having to work from home and not doing store visits. So we've been doing all these virtual training. So I've been setting up a 3-monitor system over here where I've got a Prime Wireless set up and an SB1000 under my desk over here. And that is what I listen to nonstop all day. And just for Gary, there's my turtles.
Ninja Turtles, best demo of all time.
I'm going to put out a hit on those.
This is the room where I come in and play. And every time we do demos and events and stuff, this is where I listen to the content before we get out there. You see, I've got tons of movie soundtracks. That's what's layered around the wall here is vinyl soundtracks from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and a couple 60s ones as well. And then my Walking Dead pop figures and Lucille, my Nakatomi Tower from Die Hard. If you know the room, this is Mr. Tommy Wiseau. Yes, so worst
Good
movie ever. And then my Breaking Bad stuff, and I even have some of the blue stuff. So this is my system in here. We do gaming, we do 4K, we do streaming.
All right.
Yesterday I brought in my CD player. So
Larry, thank you for the tour. We're gonna have to spend another half an hour just doing some of the memorabilia.
I'll jump back.
Yeah, we'll do your memorabilia on the next show if our guest falls through.
All right. I am gonna move quickly through mine because I think Gary's is much more interesting here. So there's my light. So my little camera switches here. Let me make sure Larry gets back in the stream. But what I've been doing here, since my son took my Ultra bookshelves up to his room, I put myself a nice Prime Wireless 2.1 system here. I have the Prime Wireless speakers there. I have my SB1000 there. And the only thing I want to call out in this room, which I may have mentioned before, is my Wall of Fame. Autographs of Billy D. Williams, Johnny Unitas, Jerry Springer, Bruce Jenner, or I guess it's not Bruce anymore, Jenner, Mrs. Jenner, and Drew Carey, and then my son. So that is my my Wall of Fame. And then I also have my punching bag right next to the desk. It may not seem like it, but I do have occasional anger.
He took my photo off of it for the show.
I did. No, that's on the dartboard now. I put it on the dartboard, moved it off the punching bag. So, that's the highlight. But I should also mention that upstairs, I have a pair of Prime Pinnacles and an SB3000. But I also have a 3-year-old who's eating dinner, and there's various other commotions going on. So you'll have to use your imagination on that one. But Gary, I think we're ready to switch over to you now.
All right. So I'm going to leave this and come back in a minute.
So you guys are seeing what we're doing here, and this room I'm in, it's a small bedroom. And one of the things we love to say is you can do a lot without really having to have a huge space. And I know a lot of you are in our enthusiast groups, and we post our featured systems, and there are these huge dedicated media rooms and stuff. And I just don't have that space in the house. So I took the extra bedroom and made it, unfortunately, it's become an office again. So we're taking over some space. I'm sure all of you are finding great ways to listen to your systems, and we're going to see Gary's now too.
Oh, hey, look, there's another Prime Wireless speaker. Gary, you have before. We're seeing what you're seeing.
So I've just folded up my computer so you can see I think the world's greatest computer speakers, which is Prime Wireless speaker system, and then the under desk exercise device that I never use, and then that's an SB1000 behind there. So it's a Prime Wireless 2.1. This is my coronavirus project, growing little plants under a light.
Gary, can we give the precursor? Can we give the precursor for your one big system and the reason why you're not painstaking about wire management?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, please don't judge, because I even saw questions about wire management on here. I'm not the guy to ask because I am constantly swapping things in and out. And so there's going to be plenty of wires. I apologize in advance, but that's because I am literally every other day moving things in and out, comparing things, because I'm obsessed with great sound, as you guys, I think, know. This Larry told me to buy. This is a vintage Galaga game console.
One of the beauties of being the president of an audio company is you get to try all the prototypes before anyone else. So, I think you can be forgiven for that.
Yes. Speaking of prototypes, this is the world's only Ultra bookshelves in walnut gloss. And they are connected to a Prime Wireless sound base, which is on another floor, on the lower floor, which you guys will see. Back behind here, don't judge the wires, is our wireless adapter that is actually connected to an SB3000 and that wireless adapter is actually going through floors, and it's a phenomenal sounding system. So now we're going to go.
Gary, while you're headed downstairs, you mind if I do a
Downstairs.
giveaway? Mind if I do a giveaway while you're making the walk? Well, I'm going to.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Go for it.
All right. I just figured, the walk was a good time. So the next prize we are giving away is an SVS PB1000 subwoofer, phenomenal ported subwoofer. And this winner is also from Facebook. It is James Pizer, P-E-Y-S-E-R. James Pizer, congratulations. You are going to be rocking some bass from a PB1000 in your system very soon.
Nice.
So, Gary, tell us where we are now.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay, so now we are in my main home theater. So this is actually a 7.1.4 Dolby Atmos home theater. It's right now it has prime pinnacle, so that's a prime pinnacle. I'll explain this 2-channel stuff in a minute, but that's a prime pinnacle. That's an ultra center. My receiver right now is the Denon AVR 7200, which I love. And then this is, I don't know the model number, but this is the former top of the line LG OLED 4K TV, which I'm thrilled with. It's about a 2-year-old model, and I don't know the model number. I apologize. SB16 Ultra, which I love. And then I've got 4 prime elevations in the ceiling for Atmos. They sound amazing. And then because of the versatile nature of prime elevation, they're also my side surround speakers, which allows me to use.
Cut off a second there, Gary. Must be in a little interference spot. I'm going to fill in the audio for him because I've been to his house and I know what he's explaining right now. He's got this.
Ultra surrounds is my
point. There he is.
4.
Gary, you cut out there for just a second, right when you were talking about the prime elevation that's on the pillar.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
You're back, but if you can show the prime elevation that's mounted on that skinny little pillar, I think that's where you kind of got cut off.
So this was the reason why we finally were able to have side surround speakers, prime elevation working on a very narrow pillar by a stairway, see? And it works great and allowed us to have 7.1.4. Now I'm pride and joys. I've got a couple here. That is a Lynn Sondek LP12. It's a vintage table, but I just refurbed it, and it was a major refurb. So this is a killer turntable with a Quetsu Rosewood standard cartridge, which I got from my friends at Music Direct.
If anyone knows what that is, leave a comment.
This is a Mark Levinson number 26 preamp. If you know anything about audio, you know that is a vintage classic preamp with a low output moving coil stage. And this is the Levinson, what is it, Larry, do you remember?
I wrote it down.
534, I think. It's 300 watt.
532H.
It's okay. 300 watt per channel. 532H. So,
question for you, Gary.
The channel system lives completely pure, and you do not need to use the home theater receiver at all. So when I listen to 2-channel,
I think there's a little bit of a delay. Somebody was asking why only one SB16 in that room.
What's there? Because I want to prove to my friends you only need one subwoofer when they come over.
Oh man, that was a.
This is my workout room. It's a little messy. Don't judge. Don't judge.
Is there dust on all those machines?
And I've got the world's only Ultra Towers in walnut. No way, I'm working out like a beast. Well, kinda. And then a very affordable Onkyo receiver, Ultra Center, and prime bookshelves as the surround speakers. And that is my.
We just lost. I think he was in the dead zone, but I don't know if you guys noticed the finish on those Ultra Towers. Was that also a walnut or was that a cherry finish?
No, he said it was walnut too. So I guess there are some perks to being the CEO of the company. You get the only one of something in the world.
Yeah, that is a definite perk. And I think what people can sort of take away from this is we don't have multi-row dedicated home theaters with crazy allotments. We're very much have them blended into our regular home environment. Not to say that one day I will not have one of those, but at this point, we're setting up what we got, and working with it, and as everyone who's watching and tuning in probably is as well, most of you. So that I thought it would be interesting. There was a lot of people asking us to show off some of our gear. We may do it again as we swap some different things out. But
I knew this was going to start this, but do you see how many comments are coming across wanting the walnut finish?
I know.
I knew that was going to happen. So
You get the snowball effect.
Yeah. So Gary, there's a lot of questions coming about your walnut finish speakers, sir.
Yep.
I want them.
Yeah.
Go to bidding war.
All right, they're for sale. Maybe let's give them away as a prize.
Be careful. Don't say that unless you mean it, dude.
I hope that came across that you can have two. The one thing I really did want people to take out of this, you can have pristine 2-channel and home theater in the same system by using a preamp in, power amp out loop to do that. And the way you do it is you let the 2-channel system exist without need of any of the components, including the surround sound receiver that the home theater needs, and just use preamp in or preamp out and power amp in to deploy the same power amp, the same speakers in the home theater at your option. And there's a lot of different ways. Depends. I was corrected, and when we did a Crutchfield podcast, I was explaining this, and I guess a lot of today's preamps don't necessarily have a tape monitor loop or whatever they call it, but there's always a way to do it, as long as there's a way to get between the preamp and the power amp.
That's good knowledge. You really started something with this finish, Gary. People are.
We play with finishes all the time. We're always looking and trying to do different things.
I mean that's just part of the fun of it.
Somebody says he'd buy that for $1.
All right, so I think we sort of apologized for your wire management situation there, Gary, but it's something that we all have to deal with. When you want great sound, the best sound, you have to, in general, have wires. And so a question actually came up a couple weeks ago from Leigh M, Leighm. What's a good way to hide wires that come out of the back of the speakers and going to the receiver? If specifically if you don't have a carpet, but I think in general. And Larry, you got some hacks. What suggestions do you have?
Furniture is key, man. We can just throw some bundles out behind there where nobody can see it. But you guys saw my Mavs foam finger. That thing is actually hiding the speaker wire going up to my elevation right there. So I did kind of cheat that. But wire mold is always great. So if you're trying to run up around a door, I had to take a wire around this door frame because it's a funky wall and can't run through the wall, and just took it around the edge of the frame and tacked it down, and you can paint it. But I'm a big fan of the wire mold that's out there that you can stick to your wall and paint, and it's like a track. I
agree. And just so everybody knows, this stuff is really affordable. You can find it at Lowe's, Home Depot. It's not something you need to get from like an audio-centric store. And as Larry says, it doesn't look that great, except you can paint it, and then it just looks like the rest of your house. And me, I don't permanently install stuff. So for me, it's a little difficult. Although in the multi-room aspect of my house, it is worth it if you can do this to either yourself or use an expert, run the wire in the wall. It's well worth it. You want SVS foam fingers, Joe?
What do you think? High wire?
I'm all for it.
You a hot seller?
All for it.
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
On that note, Gary, you worked as for an installer integrator for a very long time. And, if anyone is brave enough to run the wires through the wall themselves, are there tips you can give them, or is it pretty much hire a professional? Don't even try to do it on your own.
Well, I'm really good at hooking stuff up. Larry, admit it. I can hook up systems really well, really quickly, and really accurately. Larry's not going to admit it, but yeah, I'm not so great at the aspects of going behind a wall. For me personally, somebody who knows what they're doing and is fair in terms, if you're price challenged. I have a bunch of guys that I send to friends in my area that either used to work with me at Meyer Emco, my old integration company that I worked at, or other people I know, and they don't necessarily charge a lot. A guy that I know who's very competent came over to my house and installed all 3 pairs of those prime elevations, including running the wire in under 2 hours. And it's, by the way, if you have stuff that's not hard to install, like Prime Elevation, it's not that hard. And then it really does look built in. I'm a big fan of running wires to rear speakers or ceiling speakers in the wall or in the ceiling.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's one of the huge perks that I don't think people think of when talking the Prime Elevation, is that if you look at how much time it takes to actually install an in ceiling or an in wall speaker, it can be hours for one single channel. When the Elevation, if you get the wire in place, it's 4 screws that go onto the wall, and it can be under 8 or 9 minutes per speaker. So it's actually really nice for people that are DIYing a system.
Gary, a personal question came in for you, and this may require that you give a plug to a different brand, but what were your first pair of speakers?
My first speakers were Sherwin-Vega 24s. It's actually a classic two-way speaker that came out when I was in college, and it served me well until I graduated and actually had a job and could afford something a little better. And I was very focused. I started out, enjoying this hobby with my dad's stuff, so I had already a taste for good stuff, just couldn't afford it. I would say my first serious speakers they're a definite classic, which are, I don't know who's going to remember these, Dahlquist DQM9 compacts. Dahlquist was a great speaker brand. John Dahlquist tragically died in a car crash. But the speakers were great because they were very well designed American speakers, but they used these really high performance German drivers. And I actually still have the speakers. I keep them. I don't use them, but I still have them. They were classics.
No kidding. All right. Well, the Sherwin-Vegas, I feel like I've seen more people say that their dad had those, or that was the speaker that they remember.
It's a dad speaker for sure.
Yeah, and it's just funny that
Makes me mad when people say Tool is dad rock. I'll push back on that one. But yeah, those are dad speakers.
That makes me feel old. That's harsh.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
We're all dads, so
that's true. That's a fair point. All right, well, that's interesting. Larry, what about you? What are your first real pair of speakers?
I think I go back to that home theater box we talked about weeks ago. It was an Iowa system, but then the first real speakers I bought were some Yamaha bookshelves, and then kind of worked my way into some JBL and Sherwin-Vega while I was working at Best Buy back in the day. So there's quite a few of those sitting out in my garage too. Well,
I remember, and I won't call these serious speakers, but my first real audio system was a Sanyo boombox, like one of the little shoulder deals, tape deck, CD on top, had everything I needed at the point. So,
shoulder blast, man.
Simpler times.
Nick, we need to give you a different origin story. We got to work on this.
All right. I mean, it's a slow crawl for some people.
You know what? I'm not gonna. The Sanyo. I'm gonna give you a little bit of props. The Sanyo boomboxes, surprisingly, as boomboxes went, they were the best sounding ones. I had one too, although it wasn't my main system, Nick. But I do remember them sounding good, and they had a big presence to them.
Well, good. And I felt the same when I was listening to the Fat Boys and Ace of Base and all those great tunes that I appreciated at that age. So I think we're ready for another giveaway. We're about 3/4 through here. So this one's coming from YouTube. The prize is going to be a Prime wireless speaker system, our really awesome wireless system here. And the winner is Adam Janetta. Adam Janetta from YouTube. Congratulations. We'll be reaching out to you, and I just saw a comment pop up. So congratulations. Thank you for tuning in today.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I use them every single day.
This is what I've been streaming down here all day, every day. So shockingly, it feels like we haven't talked a lot about subwoofers today. I feel like usually we're, sort of conversing a lot about subwoofers. So we'll bring in a question from last week. And this is something that I think all of our subwoofers offer it, but it's sort of misunderstood what it actually is. And that's the phase adjustment. Gary, why do we have phase adjustment? What is it used for? What can you tell people about it?
Okay, so that's a great question, because one distinguishing characteristic or attribute of SVS subwoofers is all of our subwoofers have continuously variable phase adjustment, even all the way down to the 1000 series. And what is that for? Well, in a home theater where you have a minimum of 5 full range speakers and hopefully a subwoofer, you might have 7 or even 9 or 11. You might have 2 or 4 height speakers. the subwoofer may have a tough time being completely in sync with those speakers. So the primary reason why you want a continuously variable phase control is some mild adjustments to that can focus the soundstage and make the subwoofer more in sync with the speakers. Typically, when a subwoofer in other brands, I'm not trying to diss anybody else, but in other brands have phase control, it's usually a flip switch, 0 or 180. It's not a continuously variable thing. What we have found is a very modest adjustment can make a world of difference, and you don't necessarily want to turn it into the opposite phase. The other reason is sometimes, and this is not guaranteed, but sometimes a slight adjustment to the phase can make up for a bad placement of a subwoofer. Just a little bit can make up for some degree of wave cancellation. Maybe I should quickly just say what phase is. Is that worth it?
Yeah, I think what it is, what it sounds like when it's out of phase, I think is
right. So
like.
Phase is basically the shape of a music wave. It's kind of going up and down like this. In the case of a subwoofer, a music wave can be literally 40, 50 feet long. So it's a massive amount of adjustment. And of course, with high frequencies, mid-range, the phase becomes much more compressed. So when we say phase, we're talking about the top part of the wave and the bottom part of the wave. Phase, this part of the phase and this part of the phase. The problem is when you have different sounds bouncing around the room, they can bounce off the walls and get out of phase with each other, or they can get out of phase, speakers can get out of phase with the subwoofer, meaning they're arriving at your ear just a fraction of a second later or different times. And making slight adjustments on the phase control of your subwoofer can just focus it back and make it seem all completely in sync. Did I do okay at that?
That was really good, because there's a lot of people that don't understand phase, and like you said, most of the products out there have a 0 or 180 switch, and that can be way too extreme in most cases. So having the variable, if you didn't understand it in the app, you can go from 0 to 180 and everywhere in between within our app and take incremental steps, so you can really fine tune the phase on the subwoofers.
And while we're on the topic of like DSP and sort of controlling subwoofers, somebody asked about polarity. What's the difference? What's polarity versus phase? I mean, they're not the same, obviously, but what can we say about that?
So polarity is just the negative and positive signals of the amplifier. And so when we talk about reverse polarity, we're basically saying that one speaker in the system or is the negative signal from the amplifier is going to the positive terminal, and the positive signal of the amplifier is going to the negative terminal. And so now the speakers are not, because the other one is right, the speakers are not in agreement with each other. So that's why we always, when we set up a system, we always make sure that the wire from the red terminal on your amplifier is going to the wire, going to the red terminal on your speaker. And it's when you're in a hurry, you want to get it done. It's so, Larry, you got to admit this, so often, even us, we do this so often.
Oh, we see it a lot.
We'll find one speaker that was out of phase. So it's, it's hard to, something's wrong, but you don't exactly know what it is. So at least in a stereo system, I think it's more obvious, but in a home theater, you don't always notice. So take your time and make sure that the polarity is in agreement all around the different speakers of your system.
Larry, here's a sort of more technical question, but I know we've done this at some of our live events. We've had to adjust after the fact. What can you tell me about this question here, in terms of the Odyssey and room correction?
Well, so whenever I do a system, like in here, this Onkyo doesn't do Odyssey, does MCACC, which is there, or yeah, whatever it's called, and does single point. But if you have Odyssey of multi-point room correction, you're probably going to more mess with phase after you've done your room correction to really
yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we have a lot of questions like why don't you have room correction built into your subwoofer? And if you're doing a home theater system, you are going to do the room correction typically off of your receiver or externally on its own with a microphone and software system. So by having all the additional controls inside the subwoofer via our app, you can fine tune it down to inches and really get it to perfectly set yourself there. So if you are running phase correction. After you run your Odyssey room correction and get everything kind of dialed in you want, then you can play with phase and you can play with volume.
Let's bring it back to basics for a minute, Larry, just for the people that may be newer to this. Every home theater receiver has some version of room correction. And so, and Larry's pointing out that, you wouldn't want to do that twice, because room correction basically uses a microphone that listens to the room and watches how signals are reproduced that the system itself creates. So it's totally automated. It's totally, it's user independent. You just set it, let the system figure it out, and then make its corrections to the room. So that's the first thing you do in a home theater. But as you get more experience in this hobby, you kind of get a sense of how things should sound, or you may have experience with some music or some other thing. When you notice that something's not exactly right, that's when you can go into either our app or typically for SVS subwoofers, our app, and start making micro adjustments to the subwoofer to compensate for things that the room correction software didn't notice. And if that sounds complicated, don't worry about it, because what I believe is don't touch the subwoofer adjustments until you use the room correction software, and then very, very gently, not a lot, you can play with it. And we have, Nick calls them our sound experts, our customer service team. Those guys are standing by to help walk anyone through that process. They're really good at it. They don't need to be in the room with you, and they can help you figure out exactly how to make your room sing. So that would be my advice.
Okay, that's good. And I think one quick follow-up to that, not so much on the phase polarity, but David P. asked, is it completely flat subwoofer response always the goal, or is there a time where you maybe want to boost certain low frequencies, whether because of the room or the content or whatever? Like, what's sort of the philosophy there as a home theater fan or a music fan? And Larry, maybe you can take the first crack.
I don't know if there's a correct answer to that, because sometimes you may want to have that absurd over-the-top experience. And so for me, that's why I use the presets on our subwoofers. So I have the big, absurd, over-the-top movie preset. Then I have a more regulated, flat curve set for normal watching. But if you're trying to dial in and have that perfect setup that everybody wants when they're doing software and microphones and stuff, then yeah, you probably want to go for a flat setup. But I think most of us that are subwoofer fans probably tend to push them a little hotter.
Yeah,
I would say always follow the instructions on the room correction. They're going to tell you to turn down the subwoofer. You're going to be like, this is turning it down more than I really want to, but I'll go ahead and follow orders. And you follow those orders. And then after you've done that, remember where the subwoofer was set, and then you can play with it. And I'll typically, and I like to think I'm an audiophile, but I will typically crank up the subwoofer. Larry knows this, about 3 dB. Not a lot. That's the first noticeable jump in sound, 3 dB. Meaning the average human at 3 dB will raise their hand and say, okay, I noticed it got louder. So it's not much louder, it's slightly louder. And that's what I enjoy. Larry, you crank it up. Actually, you're more in school with me, right?
Yeah, so before we do any of our room correction settings, I turn the sub to half or a little less or a little more, depending on what the room correction is recommending. Most of the Denon Marantz systems out there have a subwoofer matching volume thing you do beforehand. And then once it's all done, we pull it back up a little bit. And that's kind of where it lives. My 2000 that's over here in the corner, I've got it slightly above half volume. And as you've heard over these last few months, I have knocked quite a few of these albums down off the wall. So now they're up there with much more industrial strength adhesives.
That's smart. Smart move there. You don't want to damage any of those bad boys.
No.
Well, I think that was some great knowledge. Everyone seemed to be really into that. So we're going to have to revisit DSP and subwoofers in a future date, maybe with Mr. Ed Mullen himself, who got some name and recognition here as well.
Well, he would be a good, even if we didn't have him as our main, special guest, he would be really good to talk about stuff like that. Just setting up your home theater, just focusing it on that. And there's nobody better than him. And what's really great about Ed is he knows how to explain things to people, even though he isn't in the same room, which that's an art. And I'm much better when I'm in the same room with people, helping them understand what makes great sound.
Well, that's the product of probably 25,000 conversations that he's had.
Yeah.
Underestimating it and just having to paint the picture in his head of what the person on the other end is seeing. So we love Ed, and he will be back. I promise you guys that. So we have 5 minutes left, roughly. Before we do our last giveaway, one quick hitter question: what whiskey goes best with an SVS subwoofer? From Christopher R. I'm drinking Buffalo Trace tonight. Sometimes it's Maker's Mark. The answer is whatever you have. So as long as the SVS subwoofer is there, that's the important part. Sorry, a little gratuitous plug there, but we did want to talk about...
Did you get some compensation for that plug, Nick?
No, I didn't. I wish I would. Actually, I should have invited those two brands to watch because, I'd love to get some free product there. But no, unfortunately not. And I will also mention somebody requested, and I told Larry I wasn't going to do this, but I am going to. They requested he give away one of his T-shirts as a prize in an upcoming episode. So he's not going to give you the game worn one from today, but that's on the table. We'll let you guys know.
This is a special shirt. Most of my shirts are limited edition and no longer available. So I may have to see if there's one that I'd be willing to part with for somebody.
We will look forward to that. So last topic came from the previous broadcast we did, and it's from Ellen H. And I think this was more directed to Smith Freeman. But Gary, I know you have some interesting thoughts here. And the way she frames it up is when you finish a speaker or a subwoofer, it's probably already outdated, which I don't know about that, but you must already be developing the next best thing. How do you see the future of speakers and subwoofers in 10 plus years?
Well, you know what? When you told me this something about this question when we were discussing our show tonight, I thought it was more about the second part of it. As far as the first part of it, which is, are you guys thinking about the next thing immediately after you finish? Totally. We're crazy that way. We are, and Larry's in there, and Nick, you've been as well. We are crazy, like looking at the next thing immediately after we put a project to bed. That's the fun of this. We really want to keep pushing the envelope of what's possible with our products. And I do think that the future of speakers in terms of what will change is all about connectivity and smarts. It's all about, it'll be wireless, it'll connect using your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth will improve, the capabilities of Wi-Fi will improve. But I think the ability to make great sound, fundamentally, you still are going to need full-on cabinet speakers. You're still going to need that. If you think you're going to buy a speaker tape and stick it on your wall and it's going to make amazing sound, it's not going to be that way. Because in the end of the day, a speaker is a piston that moves air. If it doesn't move the air correctly, it doesn't sound good. And if it does move the air correctly and by the way, obviously, bass requires more air than high frequencies, and high frequencies require very accurate fast motion, 20,000 times a second, in order to be crystal clear and in agreement with each other. So those things, I don't expect that they will change. However, we'll always be pushing the envelope in terms of what's possible with the technology. We have things now that we didn't have 10 years ago. We had 10 years ago, computer-aided design was just getting started. Laser interferometry. Before that, it was all trial and error in the real world. Now we can do so much in the virtual world, in the computer-aided design world, and then create a prototype where we have a great idea of what it's going to sound like. That has really advanced speaker design. But if I'm going into a futuristic lab of tomorrow showing what's 10 years down the road, I've never seen anything other than cabinet speakers using ever more advanced drivers.
Yeah. Larry, can you explain laser interferometry? I think that's what you said. No.
Interferometry.
Yeah, thank you.
But, we only have 2 minutes to go, and that's about a 30-minute.
That's a good teaser for next time. People will be hanging out.
My wife just sent me a text, says we do have SVS shirts to give away as opposed to giving away mine. That's what she just sent me.
Oh, well.
If they do win your shirt, you know what? And second prize will be 2 shirts.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. All right. We're going to do our final giveaway now. This has been a phenomenal time. I think, sharing our home theaters was something we wanted to do. And obviously,
I had fun doing this.
That I'd asked. We'll give some updates down the road as they evolve, because I think all of us are constantly evolving our systems. One of the joys of working with SVS. So we'll look forward to that. And just for a little housekeeping, we're going to do our next broadcast on July 9th, which is 3 weeks from now. We're always...
Because we have a really special guest, but I'm not allowed to say because we don't have it 100% locked down that this person is going to be our guest, but it's one that I'm really excited about if it comes together. But that required us to wait another 3 weeks. But we promise you, we are committed to every other week and maybe now and then even every week, because we have more. Hopefully you guys had fun today, but we are having at least as much fun as you guys are, maybe more, right?
Oh yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And all the suggestions for various merchandise that we should start developing, it's going to get me as the marketing guy, get my wheels turning here.
Foam fingers, dude.
Foam fingers, coasters, Scotch glasses. I mean, come on. So on that note, we are going to wrap up with our final giveaway of the evening. It's our most popular subwoofer that we currently offer. The SB2000 Pro has the app control that we were talking about before. Really a phenomenal sonic dynamite in a fairly compact cabinet. And the winner comes from Facebook. It is Sean McDonald from Facebook. Congratulations, Sean.
Congratulations, Sean.
SB2000 Pro. So as I mentioned, we'll be back July 9th, 6 p.m. It's a Thursday. You'll find
6 p.m. Eastern.
And that's Eastern time. And hopefully we'll have a very special guest. So stay tuned for that. And we appreciate everyone tuning in.
Great to be with everybody. See you soon.